to see you.
Good evening, everybody, and glad to be here. Again, sorry for the little delay we got started there, but if you all have used the webinar chat, there is a little chat there. So if you wanted to put something in the group chat, we'll try to be monitoring the questions. So if you have any questions along the way, I do impromptu real well. So if you want to delay and ask a question, there's nothing wrong with that. So had a couple issues thinking about talking about today, and we've got a section on sourcing we can talk about and a section on Q4. So I'm just trying to see, how do we see who's in here? Do we have many people here? I was trying to say.
Yeah, we've got, there's quite a few people in here. And they're still continuing to come in. Plus, they're also going to be over on YouTube.
Okay, cool. I'm here on the Hangout side of Webinar Jam, so I'm not watching the YouTube right now. So if you see anything there, let me know. I guess since one of the topics that everybody's really interested in, we can talk just a little bit about Q4, because we're coming into Q4, so everybody kind of wants to be prepared, wants to know what's up with Q4. And I made some notes in here, and like I say, feel free to ask any questions or anything anywhere along the way. I don't mind sharing just about anything's in my head, anything except for specific products or something I'll share, and sometimes I even share that. So I'm a pretty sharing person. One of the common things that a lot of people talk about right from the get-go is that Q4 isn't quite the calendar Q4. I know a lot of people get kind of confused by that. And what I mean by that is calendar Q4 is usually October 1st to December 31st. But since we're talking about Q4 as it applies to Amazon, what is most important right now is what is the Amazon selling Q4. And that generally for most people runs about November the 1st through about January the 15th. So it's slightly skewed from the regular calendar Q4. And I know some people get into October the first week or so and you're like, oh, my sales haven't jumped up. Am I doing something wrong? And the answer is no. Some people's sales will start jumping a little bit earlier in October. A lot of us, it happens a little later. So usually by the first week in November is when things really start to peak. And then by Black Friday, it's usually in full cycle. And I think for most people, usually somewhere around December the 10th to December 15th, somewhere right in that ballpark there is where most people usually have their highest day. So just to give you something, especially for those of you that might not have been to a Q4, just kind of know what to expect. Another thing to really think about is you've all heard the thing retailers talk about, that they do the majority of their business for the whole year during Q4. And on Amazon, it's somewhat the same, not quite as drastic as for some retailers, but it does skew quite a bit. I've done surveys and talked to people and things like that. And what I have seen mostly is that, and this will vary greatly, so don't depend on this as an exact number, but as a general number, a lot of people feel that about 60% of their annual sales is done during the Amazon Q4. So it will be skewed. You will do a lot more sales during Q4 as long as you have product. It's like Don's trying to get back on, hopefully there. And what does that really mean? What is more? What I've seen, again, none of these are exact sciences. It's just going to try to give you some ideas. November, as a general rule, will be about 2 to 4 times your normal month. And let's just say, for instance, you're doing $10,000 a month on your normal months coming up to Q4. What that means is November, you can probably expect, $20,000 to $40,000 range for November. When you get into December, it can be 3 to 6 times that. So what does that really mean? And here's the really important part. You have to prepare. And what do I mean by that? To have product to sell means you have to have sourced it to have enough product in there to sell, because you can't sell those kind of multipliers if you don't have any product. If you've got your regular product, just like you always have, then you're going to run out of product. So what does that mean? Most people are usually sourcing the month ahead. So you're usually sourcing in October for November. So what does that mean? You're going to have to start sourcing 2 to 4 times what you're normally buying in October to have enough product to sell that kind of volume in November. So let's say we were using that $10,000 ballpark as a guide. That for most people, that means you're probably buying about $4,000 of product a month, or about $1,000 a week, just to use round numbers. So that means that when you come in, instead of doing $1,000 a week, you've got to start bumping that up, and maybe start bumping it up now. But by October, you've got to be doing 2 to 4 times that, or $2,000 to $4,000 a week to have enough product in November to be able to sell it. And then the real key comes in November. Okay, is you got to be sourcing 3 to 6 times. So that means you've got to be bumping up the $3,000 to $6,000 a week if you're doing $10,000 a month before, to have that kind of thing, to be able to do $30,000, $50,000, $60,000 in December. In other words, it's the age-old adage: you have to have it to sell it, or else, like I say, you'll just run out of product. Here comes Don again. And one of the things I have to stress to people, I know everybody hears about that Black Friday were real great sales and all that, and they can be. So there's nothing wrong with Black Friday sales, but don't wait until Black Friday, because if you wait until Black Friday, you've already missed a good solid month of Amazon selling Prime season. So you don't want to miss that time. You just want to keep pumping it up and pumping up the volume, as I say. Just keep building that inventory, getting more and more and more inventory. And for a lot of people, not only is it a problem trying to build it up, but the biggest problem most people tend to run into, especially their first year, is having enough capital to do that, because you might not have $5,000 or $6,000 to spend every week coming into it. So you have to do the best you can, extend yourself as much as you possibly can. And I know people say, "Oh, don't want to use credit card." Well, God forbid, sometimes people even use credit cards. You don't want to overextend yourself. But that's the one time of the year that I break my normal rule and tell newer sellers that maybe using a little bit of credit card might be a little safer bet, just because it's Q4. Again, don't go crazy with it. Don't go spending your life savings on credit cards or anything like that. Use it very judiciously and make sure you're not going to get yourself in trouble. But if there's any time of the year that Amazon will protect you more than any other time, it's Q4, because the sales really are fantastic as far as what happens during Q4. And people say, "Well, what sells?" And when we talk to Source in a minute, I'll give you an idea of what sells, and it's just about anything. One of the other things to be thinking about is this might be the time of the year, if you thought about adding help or get somebody to help you, maybe this is a time of the year to really put that into action. And what does that mean? Maybe find a part-time lister to list your retail arbitrage items. When you're going out to stores and you're bringing it back home and you've got it strewn across the living room or in your office or wherever you're putting product, maybe get somebody part-time to help you to get that stuff listed, priced, prepped, and shipped out to Amazon, because not only do you want to be sourcing it, you want to be shipping it and getting it into Amazon as well. And then what if you do online arbitrage and wholesale and all the other things? That's when you probably want to be thinking about, do you have a prep service? And of course, John's got one of the premier prep services in the country. So talk to John about his services with his My Inventory team. They got a fantastic prep service there. So all the stuff that you're doing online and wholesale, where you're ordering it from somewhere, having it shipped to the prep center, again, keeps that overload away from you, so you can do more sourcing and grow your business even quicker. So basically what you're saying is you want to try to outsource anything that you can. And when it really gets down to it, what do you want to outsource? You want to only do the things that only you can do. So if it's something only you can do, those are the things that you want to be doing, and you want to try to outsource as much else that you can. And for most of us, sourcing is the biggest area that we probably do the best in. We probably also enjoy it a lot, but it's probably the area that we really, really, most of us love sourcing. I know I do. I know I was joked about it before. I was a typical guy going out shopping, if I'm buying a shirt or something like that. There's John again. If I was out buying a shirt or something like that, I go to the store, find the rack where the shirts are, find it with a pocket, find my size, find the price that's okay, go to the register, check out, and get the heck out of the store, get out of Dodge. Well, when I'm sourcing, the whole world changes. And what that means, when I'm out there sourcing, making money, I don't care about being in the store. Next thing you know, I'm in the store an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 or 6 hours. 6 hours, I start to lose my umph after about 6 hours. But I can usually hold for 4 or 5 hours, and then after that, we'll see how I can hold up. But I'm out there. I'm not doing the 5 minutes or 10 minutes and jump out of the store. I'm making money, and it's fun. So that's just something to keep in mind. And we're talking about a lot of the new things that's going on with Amazon. So now one of the takeaways is you want to source better. And what I mean by that, we've got new fees, we've got the long-term storage fees, we've got the quarter forward storage fees, which you probably heard a lot about already, and I won't belabor all the points in there. Are those things to be worried about? No. Just know what the rules are, deal with it, and build that into your model so that you source better. Just know what the fees are, know what you're dealing with, source better inventory. There's so much of abundance of product. And yes, I'm one of those. I believe in the abundance mentality because there's so much product out there. And I really do believe that because if any of you know where I am, I'm on the Delmarva Peninsula, Maryland. And what that means, Maryland has the Chesapeake Bay runs through the center of it. Baltimore and Washington's on one side. On the ocean side where I am, I'm on the other side. It's the low tech side. I don't have a lot of stores. People say, well, I like to go to Marshall's. And people sometimes almost make me sick. They go, well, I've only got 12 Marshalls that are within a half hour of me. I have 3 Marshalls. They're an hour and a half to the northeast, an hour and a half to the northwest, and an hour and a half south of me. So I can't even go to 2 Marshalls in one day. So those people that have 12 Marshalls, be thankful that you do. I still do what I do, and I've got much more limited stores. I'm in a very, very rural area. My towns that are closest to me are 10,000 people, about 10, 11 miles north and south of me, and I'm still doing this business. And as you probably saw the introduction that John did for me, I'm very thankful that John introduced me there real quick. I'll probably do in the ballpark of $500,000 on Amazon this year. And I'm just a solo person doing sourcing. I've got one part-time lister. That's my whole business. I don't have a big team. I don't have a warehouse. And I'm probably still going to do close to $500,000 this year, probably making a pretty nice 6-figure income. So not only am I making a 6-figure sales, but I'm actually going to put 6 figures in my pocket. So can you do this business? Absolutely. I'm a firm believer because I'm doing it myself. And Amazon, the takeaway with all those new things they're putting in, Amazon's just sending a real clear message. They're not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to do away with third-party sellers because as third-party sellers, we're doing somewhere between 40 and 50%. I've heard in numbers that's even higher than that, but we're doing 40 to 50% of Amazon's total business is third-party sellers. It would be insane for them to do away with third-party sellers. Their shareholders would crucify them if they did away with 40 to 50% of their business. And we're not talking about a few little things. We're talking about Amazon's what, $120 billion this year. So we're talking about massive numbers. So Amazon's not going to do anything to hurt that. They just want you to source better. They want you to source things that are better inventory so that the things that are coming into the warehouse are going to sell hopefully relatively quickly. It's like Don's trying to get in again. Hopefully he'll get in here this time. All they want you to do is to have things that aren't just going to be sitting. They don't want you to send your junk into the warehouse. They want you to send things that are going to sell. And then that kind of segues into kind of sourcing in here. I was looking to see if we got any questions. Like I say, if you've got any questions in here, don't hesitate to put them in the chat. And if you're on YouTube, hopefully one of them are monitoring the YouTube side to see if
yeah, I'm monitoring over here as far as what's going on. We do have someone with their hands up. I mean, Mickey's got his hand up. I can bring him on and see if he has a question. He's had it up for a little while, but I didn't want to. because what you were talking about was real good detailed stuff they needed to hear. So
Well, this is in between the two topics, so this one might be a good time. So that's fine.
let me see if I can bring him on.
Cool. Come on, Mickey.
Are you still there?
I'm still here.
I'm looking for Mickey to see if he's. I just brought him on.
If you might have to accept the thing to say that you actually come on there, Mickey. So, and then we'll get you.
Yeah,
on
I
screen.
did that.
We'll see what your question is. Be glad to try to help you.
All right. Well, we're waiting for Mickey to see if he accepts to come on screen. Another comment here. Let me see. From Danny, he says, I'm unable to post items to sale this year that I've sold many of since I've been a seller. Very frustrating. That's his question.
Does that mean because of restrictions, maybe?
Danny, is that because of restrictions? Can you post in the chat what your question? Give us a little bit more detail of what you mean by your question. I think it does mean by the restrictions is what I'm thinking.
And if that is, that's going to dovetail into this next discussion, because that's one of the things I'm going to talk about, how to diversify to not just get into one area. And when they clarify, I can go over it in detail if we need to. But we're going to cover that quite a bit here in the next few minutes. Is there any other questions in there?
I don't see anything as of yet, and I don't see
Mickey hasn't come on yet.
Here. So I'm going to put him back to return as attendee. He may have, while you were talking so much, he may have popped away for a second. So I'm going to put him back. He'll put his hand up if he needs to ask a question again.
Hey, Mickey, if you still got a question, I say just raise your hand again, and we'll get you on here and try to get your question answered. And then let's talk about sourcing, since some of the questions seem to be related to sourcing. That's a big area we get in here. It was our next topic anyway. And one of the myths that's out there is that, I'm going to tell you right up front, RA, as most people call it, or retail arbitrage, which means going out to stores and buying product, is not dead. It's just you have to do it a little smarter nowadays, but it's definitely not dead. And don't want anybody tell you that it is dead. There's some things to change in your business model for the future, but it's still viable. A lot of people are doing it. I'm still doing it. It's just you have to do it a little smarter. We'll talk about that. If you're buying, and this is one of the takeaways from doing it, if you're buying brand named product, you're buying Nike and Skechers, things like that, where you're buying name brands. Just make sure if you're doing retail arbitrage, or RA as we all call it, we abbreviate it to RA, is have good receipts. And what that means is whatever stores you're going to, see what's on their receipts. Just make sure they have either a product description so that it says, hey, Nike sports shoe or something like that, or it has the UPC on there. A few stores won't have a whole lot of detail on there. They're the ones that you've got to be a little bit more careful about watching. Oh, somebody was texting me. Oh, okay. Thought somebody was asking me a question. Just be a little more careful with brand names if the receipts don't have any clear designation, so you can't. So if somebody was to make a claim to say that you sold a counterfeit product, or as Amazon calls it, an inauthentic product, you just want to be able to prove it, that it really is good product, it's sound. And I know some people are even going to the point that if they buy from a store that doesn't have a receipt that's real clear, is they're even taking pictures of the items with the tags on there before they send it in, so that they can say, here, I bought this from TJ Maxx, or I bought this from Marshalls. Here's the Marshalls tag. Here's the Nike tag. This was a legitimate product. This was a real deal. This was a brand new Nike compression outfit, or a Skechers pair of shoes, or whatever item you're doing. So just do it a little bit smarter, but you can still definitely do it. Now, one of the things that, and this goes back to the person talking about they were selling certain products and now they may not be able to sell those products. One of the takeaways is you want to be doing a broader product array. It means diversify. So and one of the things a lot of people were saying, well, what does that mean? Go to more categories, not just other products like the same things you were buying, but even different categories. So you get a broader category stray. Let's see. And don't get yourself pigeonholed into one area and one area only. And what this really means is, for the people that heard that shoes were so popular, and I know a lot of us have sold a lot of shoes, don't just pigeonhole yourself into just doing shoes. So what do you want to sell if you're still doing retail arbitrage? I'll give you just some highlights of things that are in most of these stores. Pet supplies. Pet supplies are great, because guess what? A lot of people, and some of you on here might be the ones in there just like it, spend as much and sometimes more on their pets than they do on their kids. So there's a lot of money to be made. Pet beds, pet toys, pet supplies, all kinds of things around pets, because during the holidays they're buying items for their pet, or pet outfits, or we've all seen pictures of the dog with the cute little outfit, or God forbid somebody tried to put an outfit on a cat. Hopefully they don't have too many scratches on them. But pet supplies is a great area. Toys are absolutely fantastic for Q4, because what is Q4? It's primarily a holiday season. We've got Christmas and other holidays all around here. So people are buying toys because it's for the kids. We're trying to do a whole lot of things to make it nice for the kids. So toys, just about anything with toys, from little toys to bigger kids' toys, all kinds of toys. Household items, small appliances, even coffee pots, little vino machines to bring a vacuum on a bottle of wine, all kinds of little novelty gadgets, things like that, household appliances. While you're in the household section, turn around, and usually the section right behind you has knives on there. How many of you looked at knives? People look at me strange every once in a while. I go, knives? Yeah, because a lot of people cook. A lot of people, they're couples. One of the things they do as a couple is they cook together. So they have these specialty knives. I don't even know what some of these knives do. As you can tell, I'm not a big cooker. But a lot of people do. So they'll have an asparagus knife and a shrimp deveining knife and all these specialty knives. And one of the things I've learned with knives is, don't get caught up looking at the name brands all the time, because two of the name brands that I found that don't always do that well is Califon and Cuisinart. They're the names everybody knows about. But don't just stick to those. You want to know some of the things I've made the most money on knives? Japanese brands or odd country brands, things like that, things I can't even pronounce. I have no idea what it said on the label. I have no idea how to pronounce the name. And to be honest with you, I don't much even care. All I know is I can buy it at the store for $7.98 and it's selling for $72 on Amazon. And God love Amazon. It's great. And I don't have to know what it does. I just have to know that there's a market, there's a decent sales rank on the item, people are looking for it, and therefore I'm going to supply it to them. Anything to do with walking, hiking, outdoors things, pedometers, hydration packs, all those kind of specialty things, gadgets for your phone and Bluetooth things, GPSs, all those kind of things. People love to do walking. They love to hike. They go on trails, doing a vacation and all. Those are really, really hot items. And to go along with that, guess what's coming up right behind the Christmas time, the holiday season? It's January the 1st. And January the 1st, guess what a lot of us do? We do our New Year's resolution. And what's the biggest resolution out there? Most people say they're going to lose weight. So anything to do with losing weight, whether it be a little a weight set, a little spring thing to go to your door, all those kind of things. The things that may not sell that great the rest of the year, they sell pretty good this time of the year because people are preparing for that. And then whether they use it for a month or all year, we don't care, because once they've got it and they're using it, we've got our sale, we're happy. Handbags, purses. I generally stay away from the big brands like, things like Coach that could be restricted, even like Tommy Hilfiger. But there's all kinds of other brands out there, Bagolini, all kinds of other names. And some of them are another thing you can buy for $10 at the store a lot of times and sell for $40, $50 sometimes. So don't miss out on those. Usually right near the handbags is the backpacks. And backpacks do well twice a year, usually for the school season, for each semester. But they sell year round. They get given a lot as gifts, and all kinds of backpacks, from backpacks for books, specialty bags for computers and laptops and tablets and all kinds of things like that. So don't forget the backpacks, because they sell well. Even automotive items. You see things that are automotive items, then they happen to be on clearance. Look at them, because not a lot of people do the things. So you're just think about the areas of the store that you might not have thought about, and you go, you know something? Not a lot of people pay attention to automotive. Maybe I should. So you're going somewhere where not everybody is there. That means you probably have a little less competition. Another place to make money. And the other thing that I do as a takeaway is I try to stay away from real risky items. One of the things that's risky for me is things like DVDs. Just because DVDs are so counterfeited that I won't sell DVDs generally anymore, just because it's too risky for my business. You may have a good source, but that's the key. If you're going to sell something that's risky, that has a chance of being counterfeit, like DVDs or name brand purses and things like that, have a great source for them. Buying them from a legitimate store, like if you're going to do anything like a name brand purse or something, buy it from the outlet store that for that particular purse. Buy DVDs from a well-known wholesaler, so you know you've got a great invoice to go back to prove that it's authentic, that it's a real item. What are places not to buy from? Places like yard sales, flea markets, auctions, all those kinds of places, even some liquidation places, mostly because the paperwork doesn't hold up for its own. In other words, there's nothing there to prove it. So if you go to a yard sale, there's nothing to prove that DVD is real. So your chance for getting an inauthentic claim, and then Amazon wanting proof from you, it's not going to hold up. You can't say, I bought it from a friend of mine. Yeah, the person's real good. I know it was real. That doesn't cut it with Amazon. And just to burst people's bubble a little bit, one of the things that I've found, and I know some people debate me on this one, is I wouldn't buy DVDs from Walmart, because the one thing I found, if you do a lot of research on DVDs, I've found that as high as 20% of the DVDs in the $5 bin that's at most Walmarts are actually counterfeits. Because where does Amazon buy a lot of their material from? A lot of the items that they sell? China. And guess what comes from China a lot? A lot of counterfeit product. So just know your sources, know what you're doing, and just source smarter. So hopefully we answered some of the questions people had in there, and gave you kind of a quick 101, if you will, on sourcing, and some and neat little ideas in there. And I see John's getting ready to come back on here. So John will update me on whether we got Mickey back or whether we got some other questions. So how are we doing so far, John?
Yeah, we have some questions here, so I'm going to get to them and posting them a little bit here for you. I checked YouTube, and I didn't see any over there yet. But if you guys do have questions and you can't post them in this chat, because sometimes YouTube and Webinar Jam are not friendly with each other, YouTube, I am monitoring that also, and I can go over there and check them. But I'm going to get over here to the questions. Don says, I'm unable to post items to sale this year that I've sold many of since I've been a seller. This is very frustrating.
Okay.
But I guess because of the brand restrictions and things is what I'm thinking.
Okay. If it depends on the type of restrictions, I don't know what product you're talking about. If there's certain things, find out if you can get approved for it. Some things are easier to get approved for than others. Some are a little more difficult. Sometimes just asking Amazon will get you approved if you have sold the items in the past. If you are a new seller, sometimes they put some extra hoops in there, like making you have 3 invoices or having a letter from the manufacturer that you're approved to sell their item. Some manufacturers are very easy to get a letter from. Some are very difficult. The bigger the company, probably the harder it is to get generally. So if it's a smaller company, it's probably a lot easier to get a letter from them. But most of the time, Amazon asks for one or the other. It's not both. So usually they're asking for either 3 invoices where you bought the product in the last 90 to 180 days, or a letter from the manufacturer that you are authorized to sell the product. And like I was talking with this other one here, is try to diversify some. So don't get you dependent on just one area of product. There's so much product out there to sell. Just keep moving out into other areas. Keep adding other layers to your business. Start selling some pet supplies or automotive items, all those other things. Add some toys to your mixture. Add a little bit of everything that you can find. Like if you have stores like Big Lots in your area, sign up for all their notices. Okay, the is sign up for their notices, because several times a year, Big Lots will have their 20% off Friends and Family Weekend, so that you can go in there usually Friday evening and Saturday before the public knows about it, and buy stuff 20% off, and it's the whole store. It's not just one item, it's everything you buy. Yeah. And then Sunday it's available for the public. So sign up for that, because they're about due for one anytime. And you can take some mediocre things. You're like, oh, they're okay right now. Well, 20% can make a big difference in what you can sell.
Yeah, and I agree with that too, Bob. And the one thing about Big Lots too is if with their 20% off, that also goes for their clearance items too. So you can really compound things if you're shopping smart and looking for those clearance items that have really good ranks and sell well on Amazon.
Don was supposed to be a note here. Danny says, of the 888 items that have posted previously, I'm up to 50 that I cannot post. If you're talking about 888 lots, they are a liquidation source, and they're buying a lot of product that is from the Amazon Lost Inventory Liquidation Program. I do have to admit, for clarity's sake, for transparency, I have bought a lot from 888 lots over the past year or so, to the tune of easily over 50 pallets of stuff from them. I no longer buy. About 4 or 5 months ago, I stopped buying from them. And the reason I stopped buying from them was some of the issues that they're talking about. Since they're getting lost inventory, the things that you send something into Amazon and you send in 15 items and they've received 12 of them, and they say there's 3 of them that are lost. What ends up invariably happening is Amazon usually finds that inventory at some point in time. It really didn't go lost. It's just they couldn't find it. So those 3 items they've reimbursed you for. So Amazon's actually bought that inventory from you. A lot of the times, instead of putting it back into your inventory and taking the money back, they just take it out to the liquidation sources and sell it other places. So they'll sell it to a place like 888 Lots, who then will sell it to other sellers. The problem with that is one of the laws of unintended consequences I talk about. And what ends up happening is one of the things that ends up in lost inventory is a lot of people's private label product. So let's say John had a private label product, and he sent 150 of this item in to the warehouse. 120 of them were received. 30 of them got misplaced somehow. Amazon comes along, he opens a case, says, let's reconcile this. Amazon says, we haven't been able to locate them. They reimburse John for those 30 items. Those 30 items, a month or 2 months later, Amazon finds, they lump them into the great big pile of merchandise they have off in the corner of the warehouse, and they sell this inventory. And it's not like it's a little bit of inventory. Amazon has anywhere from $1 million to $5 million of product per warehouse monthly, generally. That's how much product ends up in that lost inventory. It's a lot of product. Not in the scheme of Amazon with $120 billion, but in the scheme of what we do, $1 million worth of product is a lot of product. But what ends up happening then is those 30 items that John got reimbursed for ends up in a lot. They sell it to 888 Lots. 888 Lots puts it on their website. Somebody like me comes along, or Danny comes along, buys that lot. We go ahead and list that item, not knowing that it's a private label product. We go ahead and list it. Now, with the new rules that's out there now, Amazon is getting much better with their brand registry. So what will end up happening now is if you if you've got your brand registry set up correctly, and John goes in there, cleans up his brand registry, puts those items that they can only be sold by authorized resellers, which is only him, then all of a sudden my product and Danny's product are going to get brought down, and we are likely going to get a notice from Amazon saying that we can no longer sell these items. We're infringing on somebody's rights. We're infringing on John's rights, or the items become stranded or suppressed. So therefore, you'll end up with these items. And to be honest with you, you're probably not going to be able to sell those items on Amazon under any circumstance moving forward. So you're probably going to have those products removed, do a removal order, and then probably try to find another venue. Sell them locally, sell them at a yard sale, sell them on Craigslist, sell them on Facebook buy sell, do some other place so that you get away from the online venue. Maybe even do eBay, although if they're also on eBay, they may come after you on eBay as well. But again, find some other place to sell them, because more than likely you're not going to be able to sell them on Amazon, and it probably won't change. Let's see if Don's got any more questions for me.
Bob, there's a question from Danny. The 88 thing was, he was saying the 888 isn't 888 lots. He says, I mentioned it as my total of SKUs and not the company. I'm sorry for the confusion. That of 88 SKUs that I sold in the past, I'm unable to sell at least 50 of them now.
Right. And it's because those items are probably private label products that now are listed in the brand registry. And since the stuff that you're buying from 888 lots actually came from Amazon, restrictions. Well, there's a couple different types of restrictions, and I know it gets confusing for people. But most of the problems I've had with 888 lots, and I've had quite a few over the time, that's why I don't sell it anymore, it has to do with private label product and things that are now in the brand registry, which show up as being restricted. In other words, you can't list them any longer because you can't sell somebody else's brand registry product. If John has put it in the brand registry, I'm no longer allowed to sell those products. Where in the past, we were able to list those products, and John would have to go on, buy the product from us, contact Amazon, and have our listing brought down. Now Amazon's doing that automatically. So they're stopping you right at the gate now, instead of before you could get it on there, sell some of them, and then they might bring your product down. Now you're closing you down right at the start, so you can no longer post them at all anymore. And that partially has come around because of the way Amazon is doing the brand registry now. So that's not actually a restriction like a Nike restriction or a Adidas restriction or something like that. This is because somebody's told Amazon that this is their brand and they don't want anybody else selling it. It's called the brand registry program. And mostly it's happening because of private label product. And Amazon's enforcing it now, where they did not enforce it even fairly recently. They weren't enforcing it that much. Now they are.
Yeah, I agree with that. But on the private label stuff, sometimes, I mean, we do sell a lot of private label. The thing that really gets to me is that when they get the returns, sometimes you'll see your private label brand up against you under your listing with Amazon selling it. They're taking the returns and selling, and they're trying to recoup money. I get that, but they're putting them up against your listing, under your listing. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, they can do that. And some of the cases, this is why it gets really confusing now, is they throw it into their lost inventory liquidation program and sell it to another vendor like Genco or 888 lots, and then some unsuspecting reseller like me or Danny or other sellers end up buying that product and then can't sell that product now because it's listed in the brand registry. Now, Amazon, unfortunately, doesn't follow their own rules. So they're not restricted by the brand registry. You, I, all the rest of us are. Amazon makes the rules, and they can decide which ones affect them as well. They can break their own rules.
Absolutely, and they do.
quite frequently. It's just like if you or I buy from a wholesaler, because that's one of the other areas. That's the area that Amazon has really been pushing for people to go towards, is sell more and more wholesaling product. Find wholesalers, go to trade shows, find better product like that, more consistent product. Is going that direction. And having better product, and then getting products so that you're authorized to sell that product. But you and I, when we're selling that wholesale product, we have to sign a contract with the wholesaler to agree to their MAP pricing.
Right.
Amazon, when they buy the product from the wholesaler, they're kind of like Walmart. They're not even the 800-pound gorilla. They're the 1,500-pound gorilla in the room. They get to break that rule, and they don't have to honor MAP pricing. And they basically bully the wholesalers and go like, well, yeah, you wanted me to do MAP, but I'm not going to. And what are you going to do against Amazon? It's tough. They make the rules, they break their own rules. And it is their marketplace, so it really doesn't matter whether you like the rules or not. We all have to live within their marketplace, so we have to understand the rules and then follow them the best that we can, and then find a business model that works for us so that we can maintain profitable product, and then ignore the areas that are going to get us in trouble. Let's see, Don's typing something here.
Yeah, it's their sandlot, that's for sure.
What is your thoughts on listing against Amazon? I'm a little different than probably a lot of people that talk about this. I know some people say that if Amazon's on that item, they won't list against it. I don't mind selling against Amazon. I sell against Amazon every single day. The key for me is, can I sell against Amazon profitably? In other words, is Amazon, selling at least the $75 retail product for $55, so that, okay, I can buy for $25, sell it for $55, match Amazon's price, match the buy box, and still sell items and be profitable? In which case, I'll go up against Amazon any day of the week, and most of the time, I will get a share of the buy box. I might not even get 50%, but I'll get a share of the buy box, and I'll sell my items, and I'll be happy. And I can compete against Amazon. I don't try to beat their price. I try to match their price, because if you try to beat Amazon, they'll just keep driving the price down. And then invariably, that's where the problem comes in. If Amazon comes in on the item and they're trying to sell that $75 retail product for $35 and I can only buy it for $25, then no, I probably won't buy the product, because I can't be profitable on it. I've got to be profitable on the item. So it depends is the answer. If I can match Amazon's price and be profitable, will I sell against Amazon? Yes. Is there a guarantee that Amazon will stay that price forever? No. But you don't have that guarantee with any seller. If I compete against John on a product and he's at $55, I come in at $55, we might sell for a good while and both of us be happy. And John might decide that he's got too much of it sitting in the warehouse. He's going to start selling the product, and he could drive his price down to $35, and then I can no longer compete. So any seller out there could end up driving the price down, what they call the race to the bottom, where it drives the price down and down and down. But as long as you can maintain profitability, I'll compete against John. I'll compete against Amazon. I'll compete against Don. I'll compete against anybody. And I'm probably a pretty friendly competitor, because I'm going to match the price, and we'll all hopefully share the buy box, in which case we'll all be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can buy things, I agree. If you can buy things and compete against Amazon where you're making money, basically, if you're right there with them, they'll leave you alone. It's when you start going below them that they start messing with you. So if you're able to buy it the right way, but it's also like Bob said too, a lot of times you could be get in and get out quick too. Compete with them for a while, heavy on what you send into Amazon, because that's never a good thing. Because what Bob was talking about, if you got too much product there and Amazon decides that they want to liquidate or mark their prices down, then you could be stuck with a lot of inventory there. So a lot of that competing with Amazon that I see, advice I would give is more of the quick hit, get in, get out. Don't be too heavy on your inventory. You can match them and make money, but you don't want to say, okay, I can match them and make money, it doesn't matter how many I have on Amazon. It absolutely does, because the market fluctuates and changes all the time. And Amazon at any given time could decide to go $10 under you. And then what do you do?
Exactly. And the other thing that I'll give you a little words of advice, a lot of people say, well, I'll just go under them a little bit. I'll just go over a penny under them. Here's a little known fact. Even 1 penny underneath Amazon is likely to set their repricer off. So the next thing you know, they just dropped their price by a quarter. And then you undercut them by another penny, and they drop the price by another quarter. And before you know it, by the time you woke up the next day, now you're both at $35 on that $55 item, unless you've got your repricer set up to keep the price from going down too far. But Amazon, if you price under them, Amazon is going to more than likely have their repricer, and they have a constant repricer running. So they're repricing their items 24 hours a day, and they're likely to just sit in there and just keep running it down, running it down, running it down. And contrary to popular belief, Amazon has a different business model than most of the rest of us. Most of the rest of us are doing it to make money. Amazon is not. They have a totally different business model. They want to have a marketplace that overall is the best price on the planet with a reason. So if Amazon has to lose money on that item, they will do it in a heartbeat. You and I, we're going to really think twice about it because we don't want to lose money on an item. But Amazon will go to a loss on the item and not even flinch. So don't force their hand and try to see who's going to win in a shooting match, because more times than not, Amazon is going to win. You don't go up against a 1,500-pound gorilla. You don't win that battle very often.
Yeah, and the other thing about Amazon too, a lot of people don't realize is what you just said, Bob, is correct, is Amazon's not looking to make a profit on their products that they sell. They're wanting to keep the market their market, but a lot of people don't understand Amazon makes their money in the cloud.
Yep.
Selling market is very like a hair in a haystack compared to what they do with that cloud base that they have. That's where they're making huge money by having everybody in the cloud. So exactly. A lot of people think that Amazon makes it in their selling of the products on there. That's not even kind of what they make their money on. They make it on the other avenues that they do.
Right. And another interesting little point in there is, since we're all talking about selling on the Amazon marketplace and understanding the Amazon marketplace, if you haven't gotten a chance, there's a book out there, and this is not my book, so I'm not pushing my book. There's a book out there called The Everything Store, The Story of Jeff Bezos. It's a very interesting read because it kind of chronicles the life of Jeff Bezos and allows you to get into his head, understand how he thinks and how the management at Amazon thinks, because it's not the same way you and I think. So it's really important that you understand their mindset, how they think. It's like one of the things that's out there is people say that, well, Amazon doesn't care about the sellers. And to a certain degree, there is some truth to that. It's not really 100% true, but there's some truth to that. And the truth is because Amazon is buyer-centric. Everything Amazon does is revolving around keeping the buyer happy, not the seller. And their philosophy is very simple. If they do everything to keep the buyer happy, number one, the buyer is going to keep coming back, going to keep the marketplace alive, which is going to make a good marketplace for us sellers, which in turn then keeps the sellers happy. So Amazon's not trying to keep us happy up front. They're trying to keep us happy by keeping the buyers happy. So that's one of the things you'll get from reading that book. It's a very interesting read if you want to kind of understand what you're selling on and kind of their philosophy, because Jeff Bezos really does have his mentality kind of permeated all the way through the Amazon marketplace and all through the tens of thousands of people. They kind of are taught how to think like he does to a certain degree.
Hey, Bob, you want to post that on the actual screen?
Do what now?
You want to post that book link on the screen, so I know you don't get anything for it, just so they can see,
sure.
Be there, so that when they watch the replay or anything, if they want to get the book, they get it.
No problem at all. I'll look that up real quick here. It's not a very expensive book. I'll tell you what it's running here right now on Amazon. I'll post the link on here. It'll just be a straight Amazon link. So The everything store. Let's see. Whenever you're doing an online thing, yeah, the book right now is $10.11 to get the paperback, and it's $9.60 for the Kindle. So it's about a $10 purchase. And if you're going to do this business seriously, a $10 investment to learn about the mindset is a very cheap investment. So I highly recommend it. There we go. Let's see. I'll post it here in the chat. There we go. There, it's in the chat now. If anybody can see the group chat there, it should be the links. It should be in there for you. It's called The Everything Store, Jeff Bezos and the Age of Amazon. It's by a guy named Brad Stone. And it is an interesting read, just so that you understand more about Amazon. It gives you a nice little project for the weekend, something to read. So let's see if Don, I think, was sending me another message. No, he's not. What is your thoughts on listing? Okay, that was the one we just did. Okay, I'm trying to see if we've got any other questions here. And people, don't be shy about asking questions. I'll answer just about anything I can. I'm pretty free with trying to give everything out of my head. So if you ask me what's my best product and what I'm going to make money on in Q4, I might not answer that one, but just about anything else is fair game. The top three tips for Q4, if you didn't cover it. Well, part of it we did, but let's say, what would be the top 3 tips? Prepare. Do the reverse engineering we were talking about before. Figure out what realistically you might be able to sell for Q4 by just taking those 2 to 4 times and 3 to 6 times numbers we talked about. What is possible for you to sell? And what do you need to be buying to have enough product in there? So prepare. Diversify. Like we talked about before, about trying not to be the one-trick pony or the just pigeonholing yourself. If you've heard also the webinars and stuff like that talking about how shoes were the greatest thing, they're absolutely fabulous. I have no problem with shoes, but don't just do shoes. Add some toys, add some pet supplies, add a bunch of other things. Do I sell shoes? Absolutely. Last year, I sold a little over 1,000 pair of shoes myself, just my little business. This year, I've already sold over 1,200 pairs of shoes. So I'm still selling shoes, but guess what? That means I'm selling a lot of other things too. About 20% of my business is shoes. So yeah, it's important to me, but it's not the only thing I'm going to do. I'm doing a bunch of other stuff too. So I'm trying to live the same thing I'm telling other people. And let's see. And then the other one probably is think about outsourcing, whether that means a part-time lister for your retail arbitrage, getting a prep service, talking to John about using his prep service. Now's the time to get prepared. Don't wait till the last minute until you need to do it, because that's the wrong time. Get set up now. Learn the process, get the process working, even if you only do it a little bit right now. That way, when you really crunch time comes, you'll be set up, you'll understand how to do it, and you'll have outsourced some of the things in there. And try to keep the things in your business that only you can do, or only you can do the best. So like for me, sourcing, I've tried outsourcing my sourcing part of it. I've done mix with it. I've had a little bit of success. Probably the hardest area I've ever tried to do. Some success, some not success. I keep trying at it, but it's a real hard area. But listing and pricing and prepping and shipping and sending stuff out to prep store, all that kind of stuff, those are pretty easy things to outsource. Those 3 things alone will take your business to a whole different level. And you might easily just double your business just by those simple 3 tips right there. You might easily double your business. You might do in Q4 what you've done so far this year already. You might do just in Q4. So be prepared for that. See, how do we set up paying someone hourly by the piece? There's all kinds of methods out there for doing that. Generally, for people coming in like listers, things like that, I'm probably going to pay them hourly, come up with something that works for each of you. Start them off with something like $8 an hour or something like that, or maybe more. Depends on, I don't know, depends on where you're at. If I'm in a low tech area, so I probably pay a little less. If I was in California, I probably couldn't get away from that with that. Pay them one rate to get and have a probationary period, 30 to 60 days. Then if they do really well, then up it to $10 an hour, something like that. If you're doing it for sourcing, I've actually tried a couple different things there. And I'll tell you the thing that's worked for me. It may not work for you, but it's my little tip for what has worked for me. I try to pay sourcers 10% of what they can buy for me. And here's my rationale for that. Some people say, oh, I want to pay them a percentage of the profit or split the profit or whatever. It's a paperwork nightmare. Plus, people want to get paid now. They don't want to wait a month or 2 months or 3 months for everything to sell. So the simplest one for me is I want them buying as much as possible, and I'm double checking the things that's coming in to make sure that they're still well trained. And if need be, I'll go out there and I'll go sourcing with them again and again and again, as many times as needed to either get comfortable or to kick them out and say, no, it's just not catching on. But I usually try to pay about 10%. So if they go out and go sourcing and they hit a Marshall's or they hit a Carter's or they hit who knows what, whatever stores, your big lots with the 20% off sale hits on a couple of weekends or something. If they can spend $1,000, then you pay them $100. And here's the way to look at it. Figure out what that is. What did it take them? 3 hours, 4 hours? Let's say it took them 4 hours to source that $1,000 worth of product. You've paid for the $1,000 worth of product, so they didn't have anything out of foot there. You paid for that. But now they spent 4 hours, they're getting $100. Do the $100 divided by 4, they just made $25 an hour. So when in reality, you actually paid them a really good wage. As they get good with it, you can have somebody out there making $25, $50, $100 an hour pretty easily, and it's all up to them. And they're in there for the same thing you are, doing as much as they can and buying as much as they can of decent product. And that also keeps them away from the dollar product. Because me personally, I don't want all the dollar products. I'd much rather have $40 pair of shoes or a $40 coffee machine or $20 knives and all that kind of stuff. And it adds up quicker. And they're going to make more money. You're going to make more money in the long run. And then everybody's in there for the same reason, to make money. Now, all of a sudden, you're paying them $30, $40, $50 an hour. I can almost guarantee you they're going to be real happy, because that's a whole lot better than being a Walmart grader.
Absolutely.
And again, that's what's working for me. So,
a lot of people, just to chime in here a little bit, a lot of people don't realize too, in fourth quarter is a great time. Yes, Amazon is the great platform, but there's other things that if you haven't set up, it's probably a little bit late to do that. But Walmart.com, Jet.com, your own website, Bob's an eBay person. So eBay in fourth quarter can be really profitable, because it's the same thing as type of Amazon. It sells very, very well. But the other thing, when you're thinking of like to do merchant fulfilled, well, you don't have to do merchant fulfill, but what you can do is buy those things and send them to a prep center, and they can merchant fulfill it for you. Well, let me tell you, a lot of people don't do it. And when you get down to that last 6-7 days of Christmas time, merchant fulfill is huge when you can get product to people with Amazon's 2-day shipping. So you wanna make sure that when you're getting closer to the end, you can't get it into FBA and get that product sent in. Amazon's not going to have time to get it, checked in and do everything it needs to do. But if you have a prep center that has it, they can merchant fulfill that and get that out the door within 24 to 48 hours. Chances are your customer's going to get it. That's not going to happen at Amazon with FBA. You only have a certain window to be able to get that product to FBA for them to check it in and be able to be on the market where people can buy it.
Now, I'll add 2 little points to that, my take on that. One, I don't want to merchant fulfill, me personally. So sending it to John and having him merchant fulfill for me, that's fabulous. Because me personally, that last week or 2 of Christmas, when everybody's hyper about getting the item, me, Bob, doesn't want to be shipping to them and dealing with all the hassle. The reason I loved FBA is to outsource that thing. So if you can get somebody else to do that for you, that's fabulous. And here's another little trick. I'll give you something that I do, and I might beat John on this one. John's going to try to get it in there, set it for merchant fulfilled, so that he can get it right for the Christmas sale. I've learned something else. The sales don't stop on Christmas Day. Yes, 2 days before Christmas, the sales drop off the planet. But guess what happens Christmas Day and the day after Christmas? People get gift cards. They didn't get what they wanted. They want something else. All kinds of other reasons. So what happens? Remember I told you earlier in the conversation that the Q4 sales time was skewed? It was about November 1st to about December 15th. It doesn't stop on Christmas Day. So therefore, I'm going to keep sending that product in to FBA on some of those items, because guess what I know? I know that some of those people are going to be looking for the product the week after Christmas, the first week of January. And guess what? When John's out of stock, Bob won't be out of stock. And who's going to get the sale? Whoever's got it in stock. So don't forget that you can still send product in. And while you might not get it in there in time for the Christmas rush, you might get it there in time for the after Christmas rush. So there's all kinds of ways of doing this, but I like the other thing that John said is having a prep center that will merchant fulfill for you, because me personally, I don't want to be shipping for Christmas. But I tell you what, if he wants to do it, I'm tickled to death to send him a whole bunch of product, and it works great for him. It works great for Amazon and keeps the customers happy. So there's all kinds of ways of doing this. Find what works for you.
And the other thing is, if you're buying it and storing it, like I said, Amazon, our storage fees, we have a storage program where we charge 50 cents a cubic foot, no long-term storage fees, 6 months or a year. And what a lot of our clients do is they store it there so that they can continue to pound product in through FBA when needed, but also as it gets close, they're pounding it by merchant fulfilled. They're trying to get it. And I agree with Bob, after Christmas is a valid point. But there are some that are just determined that they need to get it by Christmas, or that person that said you were supposed to get this toy and you didn't get it. Now you better find it and be able to get it to me in time. So
right.
You have that. But like what Bob said, and I've learned over the years selling on Amazon, is that fourth quarter technically very, very strong month for selling on Amazon. Very, very strong, if not almost as strong as December. We do very, very well in January, and it's probably our second strongest month of the year. December does.
And it looks like Don's got a couple more questions for me. Ross asks, what do you tell your buyers your buying criteria is? How much profit, ROI? That will vary depending on your business model, because each person's going to have your own business model. So you've got to basically teach them that. And then the KD asks, because they're related questions, what type of instructions do you give a sourcer? A list of what to buy, or do you scan and look for certain things? Again, there's a lot of different answers that will work there. I know some people give their people lists and say, here, go to 12 Big Lots, find these 3 items at all 12 Big Lots. I don't have that luxury. I'm very rural. If you're in Kansas City, or you're in San Francisco, or your big city, you might have the choice of having 12 Marshalls and 12 Big Lots and 14 Rosses and all that thing, and be able to send them out and say, here's the 4 items, and go out and do it. If that works, that's great. It doesn't work here because of where I'm located. So one of the things I do that answers both these questions a little bit, for all of my sourcers, I go out with them. I go sourcing with them. I'll take them to Target. I'll take them to Big Lots. I'll take them to Marshall. Whatever stores I want them sourcing in, I'll go with them, and I'll source a day with them. And I'm teaching them the whole time my philosophy. I'm trying to get just like I'm trying to help you all right now, trying to get as much out of my head. I joke to people, because when I do my coaching, I kind of lean towards the monitor, grab hold of my forehead, open it up, and kind of pour the information out. And that's kind of what I'm doing with sourcing with these people. I'm going to go out there and source as long as I can with them. Sometimes it might take more than one trip. Maybe I have to go sourcing a couple of times with them, and try to give them all the things. Here's what I want to do in shoes. Here's what I want to do in the bras. Here's what I want to do in toys. When I'm in the shoes and bras, okay, I want 25,000 sales rank. Well, this is my numbers. It may not be your numbers. Just give you for instance. And if it's shoes, I probably want a $15 profit unless it's like Crocs or sandals. It's a lower dollar one. I might be able to get by with $10 profit if it's a sandal or a Croc, but not for higher end stuff. If I'm paying $50 for a pair of shoes, I want at least $15 profit, maybe more. And again, everybody will be different. Maybe your number is $20 or $25. I go over to toys and I say, I'm looking for at least a $10 profit and I want 150,000 sales rank. Right now, I'm probably going to do 150,000 sales rank. As I get into next month in November and even into December, I'll probably even go up to 250,000, go up to 5%. Usually I try to stay within the top 3% of sales rank, and there's charts out there all over the place that'll tell you for each category how many items are in the category, what's the top 1%, what's the top 3%, what's the top 5%. As a general rule, to sell things quicker, I like to teach people to stay within the top 3% generally. That's why 150,000 in toys is about 3%. 250,000 is about top 5%. So depending on how I'm feeling once I get closer to Q4, that's what I'm telling people. 25,000 works real good for me for shoes and for bras and some of those items. For clothing items, probably do 150,000 sales rank, and I probably want at least a $9, $10 profit on those items. In other words, walk the person through the stores, the same stores that you want them sourcing, and hit all the categories. So, okay, now I'm going to the handbags. What do you want in handbags? And talk to them. Give them everything you can out of your thing. I'm looking for at least this, and I want a sales rank of such and such. And you can create a little index card and give them, say, for toys, 150,000, for shoes, 25,000, and just give them a list. Here's the sales rank. Here's what profit I need in that, and then teach them how to use the app that you want them to use. I use Profit Bandit heavily. Whether you're using ScanPower, ScanPower's got a great app, and it's free for low volume usage. It's a good one, and some people use Inventory Lab. There's all kinds of different tools out there. Get them to use the tools that you're used to using because you can answer the question, and teach the people just exactly the way you're doing it. Go with them, fill the card up with you being there with them, and they're learning your way because you're telling them what to do. How do you do it, John?
I'm going to tell you that you couldn't have said that any better. I mean, we don't do a whole lot of retail arbitrage, mainly in fourth quarter now, somewhat. Said that any better. I mean, and whoever's on this call should be taking notes or listening to that, watching the replay over and over just on that part alone, because I think the best thing that you can do is, like you said, take somebody with you, and out in the field training is the best thing that you can do. It's one thing to lay something out and say, this is what I do and this is how I do it, but it's another thing to actually show them and give them the visual of what you actually do and be right in there in the stores with you doing it. So I think that part of it, to me, of this webinar for the people on here, that was probably one of the most valuable things that he could have said today, is give you the education of take somebody with you, show them how to do it, and then there's ways of doing that. I mean, and Bob will tell you, you don't have to give them an open credit card. You can give them a gift card with limits on it. There's all kinds of ways that you can have them go to a store for you and be able to source. You can say, hey, listen, I want you to go to Marshall's and TJ Maxx today. I'm going to give you a $500 credit a gift card to spend, and this is what I want you to do. And as they get better and you trust them more, you give them more. But I don't say, hey, listen, here's my American Express, go have fun. You know, you put limits on them, and you build that bond and build that trust. And like what Bob said, doing that and taking them out and showing him what he does and showing them the ranks of what he's looking for and the product categories, that's a course in itself. I mean, I've taken people out on retail arbitrage trips before, and they pay you. People in this area, just in Tennessee alone, would pay me to take them to Marshall's and show them how to shop and show them what ranks to look for and show them how to use the scanning apps. That's valuable information. And when Bob's out there saying, hey, listen, come with me, I'll show you this. You don't have to pay me to do it. I'm going to show you because I'm going to teach you how to do it for me. And then once you know how to do it for me, I'm going to pay you to do it. Huge, huge.
And one of the things I did, you're talking about with the credit card, one of the tricks I've learned, and this is a little nugget here, it's kind of worth its weight in gold. PayPal debit cards, because you can get as many PayPal debit cards in different names as you want. And then you can put money, because the debit card, they can only spend what's in the PayPal. So you can control how much money's in that account. And the other nice thing about a PayPal debit card is you get an email every time they purchase. So before they've even called you on the phone, when they do call you on the phone, and first thing I do is I say, oh, I see you spent $158 at Marshall's. And you could probably hear them on the other end of the phone going, because they know now you're watching them. And then when they bring the stuff in, I cross-check them, make sure everything is decent, it's meeting my criteria. And if it's not, you know what you do? You rinse and repeat. You say, well, what are you doing tomorrow? Let's go back out there, because it's an investment in your business. It's not just investing in them. It's your business. So you want it to be as top-notch as possible, because who it's really going to impact is your bottom line. So you want them to be as prepared as possible, because that's going to make you money, because as we all know, you make your money when you buy. I know people hate that saying, but there's a lot of truth to it.
It's absolutely. And one other thing, to take it one step further, I mean, depending on what you're looking at do, like Bob said, you can take somebody out there and train them and show them what you do. But Bob could take that one step further. He could say, okay, I'm going to take you out there and train you how to do this with me, a team for me. And they could train a team. So Bob's got people at 6 different stores all over the place, because he trained this one person to be the head trainer. You know, have someone where they actually work with a team, that Bob created someone to actually manage that team and take it one step further. And what has Bob just done? Bob just outsourced big time, and he don't have to worry about, the only thing he worries about is what's coming back to him, how much profit he's making, and those other people are happy because they're getting paid, because they're out there as part of a team and they're making money. So it's a win-win-win.
And Don just typed it here. Bianca asked, wondering if office products sell year-round. And the simple answer is yes. One you're going to find is most everything sells year-round. Even some things you might not expect, but office products, very clearly, they do sell all the time, because people have offices. You're constantly running out of product. You got to keep the office going. But to take it to another step, another level, people say, oh, I'm going to go the day after Christmas and I'm going to buy a bunch of the Christmas stuff that's on special, that's on 80%, 90% off clearance, but that's not going to sell until next Christmas. No, one of the things I do, I'll wait till February 15th, so I get that little extra window of time for that long-term storage. I'll start sending some of that product in February. Then I'll send some more product in August, and then in October, whatever, or September and October, I'll start sending more of that Christmas stuff in, because guess what? People are buying Christmas ornaments and decorations all the time, all year round. So even things that you may consider seasonal, they do sell year round. So they sell better at certain times, no question about it. But just about everything will sell just about any time of the year. Let's see how we're doing question-wise here. I think I caught up with Don.
Yeah, Don's here. Just I feel so bad that Don wasn't able to get on here. I know he wanted to be on here, and
I would have loved to have him on here.
And he wanted to make sure that he could ask you some questions. He was looking forward to it. I think he posted a few of them though in the chat, which I've seen. So, and I think I've covered some of his questions. Okay. We do have one question from Ada that was a while back that I thought of it, and then you can probably go into the other part of it. And what Ada said is, when you go to Marshall's, what products are you sourcing? And Ada, what I would say to that is, I would say when I went into Marshall's, I would be looking at shoes. I look at toys. I look at health and beauty products. I mean, there's different categories in there that Marshall's has. But I also, when you're sourcing Marshall's, I would get to know the store managers and find out when those trucks come in, because they have certain days. Like if the truck comes in on Tuesday night, the chances of it getting out Monday morning are very slim. So you're better off going Tuesday and coming in Thursday morning, because they got all day to be processing it in the back rooms, and they get it out that night. So the following morning, it's right there, it's fresh, and you get to see everything before it hits the the public when the doors open. And I used to do that. I used to get there right when those doors open. And then there's certain days, if you have somebody like Bob, or have somebody, probably not like Bob, I don't want to say that, but I have a father-in-law who's a senior citizen, so we get the 10% discount when we bring him with us. So, you can leverage those type of things too.
I just so people know in here, I'm not a young gun anymore. A couple of weeks ago, I had my 60th birthday, so I'm still doing this, and I'm 60 years old. So can you do this? Yes, you can. But back to that question. One of the things you want to do is walk around the whole store. Check out the handbags, check out the backpacks, hit the toys, do the pet supplies, do the if you do grocery and gourmet foods, check that section out. Check out the home appliances, check out the knives, check out the sports section, just check out the shoes, do the clothing, do the bras, check out the various ones that you're going to do. And here's another little trick in there. Learn the stores. Because if you're one of those fortunate ones and you have a dozen Marshalls, for instance, you're probably going to have at least 2 of the Marshalls are probably going to be duds. You're probably going to have 2 or 3 that are gold mines and a bunch of others in between that'll be all in between. But here's something else that will change. Think about this. Just because you hit one of those and you didn't find anything doesn't mean that store is a bad store. And I'll tell you, for instance, if you happen to hit Marshalls and you hit it right now just before closing, and 3 hours ago I was in the store and I did 2 carts full of stuff, you're probably not going to find a whole lot because I've already cleared a lot of the shelves. But if you went in there a couple of days from now, it could be a whole different store. And you're talking to the store managers or the clerks, ask them what their restocking policies are. Some stores restock every day. Some do it certain days of the week. Find out. Oh, we do it every weekend. We do it on Friday and Saturday morning. We do it Friday night and Saturday morning. We do it for the weekend. Then guess what? That means you need to be in there on Saturday. Find out what each store's cycle and what their schedule's like, and then learn to be there. Because the worst thing you can do is to hit the stores. They've restocked, put a lot of great merchandise in there, and you've had 2 resellers go in there before you got in there. And now you think it's a terrible store. It wasn't a terrible store. You just had bad timing.
Timing is everything. And anything to do with retail arbitrage, definitely timing is everything. Because I can tell you a little story about timing of a Walmart years ago where we went into the Walmart, my wife and I, just to pick up some milk and some things, and we were looking for the arbitrage stuff. There was nothing. We happened to forget something and go back 25 minutes later and fill 2 carts. So it's just timing. And what happened is the manager just decided he had some money from corporate that gave him, and he did some price reductions, but he did them after we left or later, and that's when they were up in the front, and they weren't even up in the front. So they moved these things all the way up in front, and we came in and we saw that, well, this wasn't here, 25, 30 minutes ago, and we saw them, filled our carts, and walked out. We could have came in and walked out and got nothing again, but it's always about timing. Timing is everything.
And there's another question here. Paul asked, is there an amount of sellers that you try to stay away from on a product on Q4? And that's a tricky question, but I'm going to answer it my way. I don't pay a lot of attention on number of sellers. Ideally, you want the fewer number of sellers. In a perfect world, you want no sellers. You want to be by yourself. But that's not going to happen very often. But for me, I don't pay a lot of attention to number of sellers. I say, can I compete against the lowest seller and be profitable? And if I can, it's probably worth buying. The one caveat is, though, is there is a difference. If there's 3 of the product on the shelf, I don't care how many sellers there are, because I'm going to be in and out before it's an issue. If I'm going to clear the shelf, and let's say there's 20 of the product on the shelf, or 18 or 24 or something, there's a lot of product there. So I'm going to clear the shelf and take them all. Now the number of sellers may matter, but what's reason it's going to matter is it's going to take me longer to sell those items. So I'm not going to be in and out super quick. I might be a couple of weeks, I might be a month, maybe it's 2 months, depending on what the sales rank is, how long it takes to sell those items and how many sellers. So it might take a longer window. So if there's a lot of sellers on there and I'm clear, and there's a bunch on the shelf, I probably won't clear the shelf because I'm going to be worried about the race to the bottom. I might be fine for the first few days I'm in there, and then a week from now, the price is getting to be a little bit bad, and by 2 weeks from now, the price is getting terrible, and by 3 weeks from now, the price is like, oh God, that price is below what I paid for it, and we're in trouble. So I don't buy as many if there's a lot of sellers, but I will still buy the item. I might just limit my quantity, and everybody's risk tolerance is a little differently. For you, maybe it's 3 or 4 of the item, maybe it's 6 of the item. For me, maybe it's 12 of the item. I have a little more risk tolerance because I also have more money to spend. My buyer's account, I go out and buy things. I mean, I keep $25,000, $30,000 in there all the time. So I don't have a capital problem like a lot of people do, just because I've been doing this a long time. So I have capital to spend. If capital is tight, then maybe your number is 3 of an item. So buy 3, be comfortable, and be happy. Me, I'll probably buy more. But if there's a lot of sellers, I'm not going to clear the shelf. That's just how I'm going to do it.
And I think a lot of newbies going through fourth quarter and who have never experienced it need to understand something. Fourth quarter, you can make a lot of money. You really can if you've got the right products and you're selling the stuff that's going to sell. What I want to understand is that coming out of fourth quarter, you should be looking to come out of fourth quarter where you've got enough capital to give you that boost for the next year, so that you're not having to, what Bob talked about earlier in this webinar, about having to go credit card to credit card to credit card and paying monthly fees on credit cards, or trying to pay it off and doing the Russian roulette thing of paying it off in 30 days. Fourth quarter should be, your business plan should be set up that I'm going to come out of fourth quarter, and if I do $100,000 on fourth quarter and I profit 30,000, I'm going to take some of that money and put it aside and use it as buying cushion money to get me able to purchase for 2017 and going forward. You shouldn't say, okay, I want to pay this and pay that and pay that. It's nice to do that, and if you have to, that's one thing, but if you don't, keep that luxury of that cushion of that money so that you don't have to depend on credit cards month to month to month, and you've got that influx of money that came in fourth quarter. And I think a lot of people don't do that. I think a lot of people get that wind flow and they use it in different places, and then it's like starting all over again. Give yourself that jump start coming out of fourth quarter.
Right. And going back to one of the first things I said, nobody asked this question, but I'm going to answer it anyway, is since retail arbitrage isn't dead yet, what is the best models for fourth quarter? And to be perfectly honest, retail arbitrage is some of the best money you can make for fourth quarter. So for the next few months, I would milk everything you can out of retail arbitrage that you can. If you want to do some online arbitrage and everything else, that's great. But as you remember, one of the other things I said, Amazon really wants a steady flow of product. They want you to have consistent, decent quantity of product all the time, always have product available for the customer, not necessarily have gazillions of them sitting in there, but a nice, consistent, replenishable, that keyword we keep talking about, replenishable, which means you can buy it over and over. And the way to do that is wholesale. So the thing that you want to be building into your business, because there is life after fourth quarter as well, like John was just talking about, and you want to be prepared for it. Be thinking about January and February, going to a small regional trade show. Now, me personally, I don't recommend going to ASD as your first trade show. It's too big. It's too much to do as your first trade show. Go to a small one. Go find a small regional show, and then go to the much larger shows. You'll be a lot better off. In other words, just like you do in your regular business, do it one step at a time and grow. But go to a trade show. Learn a little bit about wholesale. Find a supplier. And the thing people go and they go like, yeah, but a smaller one, you don't have that many vendors. Well, yeah, you go to ASD and there's 4,000 vendors there. But the simple fact is, even John or me, experienced sellers, we're not going to hit 4,000 sellers in 4 days. It's physically impossible. You can't do it. If you take a team, you're going to have a hard time doing it if it's even possible. But you don't need 4,000 vendors. I go to one of the ones that's close to me. It's the Philadelphia Gift Show. It's about 2.5 hour drive from me, so it's close. I can drive. I don't have to fly. I'll go in there. It's only 500 vendors, 450, 500 vendors. And people say, well, that's tiny. Well, yeah, on one side, maybe it is. But guess what? There will be at least 10% of those exhibitors that are there that are brand new to that show. And a bunch of those might be brand new to trade shows. In other words, they're brand new vendors trying to get their product out there. They're the perfect kind of vendors you really want to find. And guess what? You couldn't deal with 500 vendors if you wanted to. So how many are you really looking for? What's your expectation? If you come away from a wholesale with a couple, 2 or 3 new suppliers of product, it's earth-shattering to your business. Set your expectations realistic. If you add 5 or 6 wholesalers at one show from most sellers starting out, you've just doubled or tripled your business probably just by adding a handful of vendors. So you don't need monster numbers. You don't need 500 vendors. You couldn't deal with it, and you probably don't have the money to buy from them anyway. I probably don't have the money to buy from 500 vendors to get started with all 500 of them in one day. But if you go there and find 1 or 2 vendors, you've just expanded your business. Now you have your retail arbitrage. You have your online arbitrage. You're adding wholesale. You're diversifying your business. You're growing your business. You keep adding layers to your business. And guess what? By the time we're getting on here next year, you'll be on here with John talking about your success story, because that's just how far you'll come in 1 year.
Yeah, and the one little nugget that Bob didn't mention too about these smaller trade shows. I do the big shows because I'm experienced, but the smaller ones, the niche ones, the little paid ones, or the niche ones, I can tell you from experience and going to them, smaller niche type small shows. Those shows are where you can really build relationships, because it's the big ASD shows that got thousands of people going through, that the salespeople are looking at for the next person. Where's he coming? Where's he coming? Where's he coming? These small shows, they don't draw as many people, and what they do is they build relationships, and it's very, very easy to build relationships and build foundations with vendors and manufacturers in smaller shows. So that's a nice little nugget to give you guys to make you understand. I've been to trade shows out in Chicago where you actually go in a little room where they have their little products, and you get to talk to them one-on-one. It's almost like having your own meeting with them. And I can tell you, you get a lot more done in those type of rooms than you do out in ASD, where you got 16 other buyers looking over your shoulder while you're trying to talk to the sales rep. So that's a nice little nugget to pass on to you guys. And also, like I said, the paid little shows, the niche ones, I've been to paid shows too, as well, trade shows. And I can tell you that Amazon sellers, they don't go to them. If they have to pay for them, they don't like to go to them. I mean, at least the ones I've been to. I mean, if you're looking for Amazon sellers there, you're not going to find them. Maybe a couple here and there, but they just don't do it. They'd rather go to the free shows that are out there and spend their time. Where while you're at the paid show and you're looking at niche type market driven products that are going to be hot coming off the presses, new items. I'm telling you right now, it's a smart way to go about trying to find products. And it's a smart way to understand that a lot of Amazon sellers will not take the time and pay $600 to go to a trade show. I've done it and will do it because I know I've benefited from it tremendously.
And another little thing is there's 2 basic types of trade shows. There's consumer-oriented shows where they're geared to retail markets, and there's the business-to-business, which are more the wholesale. The wholesale are the best shows, which you're really looking for. But it doesn't mean you can't find things even at a consumer show. And I'll give you, for instance, I'll just push the envelope a little bit. I had somebody talk to me one time and said, well, there's a show coming up in my area. It's only about 15 minutes from me, but it's an RV show, and I'm not going to go to that. There's nothing for me there. And I go, really? Why not? It's close to you. It's easy to do. But I'm not going to sell RVs. That's true. You're not going to sell RVs on Amazon. But guess what else is going to be at the RV show? RV suppliers. They're going to have parts and accessories and things for RVs. And I'd be willing to bet you that at least a couple of those vendors are probably wholesalers. So you walk up to somebody and say, do you wholesale? Yes or no? If they say no, you go to the next vendor. You go to the next vendor. You don't need to find one. You only need to find one that says yes to wholesale. You make that conversation, you make that relationship, and if you find a supplier, how many people on Amazon do you think are selling RV parts? Probably not a lot. Guess what? That's a market could be open to you. So think outside the box sometimes, because those little specialty things like that could open up, and you find your niche quite by accident.
Yeah, parts and accessories are huge. Especially, we all talk about this, Bob, and you know this too. We talk about, you get in a category, and you might see the main category, but when you drill down into that category, you're going to be surprised. You're going to be like, what? I didn't even know that was something that existed, and it's selling well on Amazon, or, you know, and you have a supplier that you can get it from. So there's a lot of ways to make money on Amazon by going through and drilling down into categories. And like I said, what Bob just said, not only just RV on boats, you can do it with boats, RVs, you can do it with any kind of thing. You can drill down. You can do it with golf, and, you know, instead of, you know, golf balls or golf bags everybody has, what about a left-handed golf club, or, you know, something that's specialized that, you know, people are looking for, that's not out there in common. So you just look at different things, and you'll be able to find the products that you need. But the one thing you have to do is take action, and I think that's the one thing from this webinar is we thank you guys for coming here. We know you could go anywhere and spend your time elsewhere. But the fact that you were here and Bob's ran over, and the only reason why we're still running over is because we still have questions that are in the chat, and I want to make sure that we get all your questions answered while we have Bob here. You know, he's gracious to be here tonight, and Bob, talking to him at CES and talking to him at different events I met him at, Bob's a book of knowledge, and Bob will sit there and he will talk to you, and he will talk to you, and he will talk to you.
Yes, I will. And it's 3 o'clock in the morning, and then we're all realizing, oh crap, we got to get a little bit of sleep because we got to be here at 9 o'clock.
Exactly. So it's great that we have these type of things and we bring these guests in here. And like I said, we appreciate Bob coming here and spending some time with us. We did have some glitches in the beginning. Don wasn't able to get on here and speak the way, but we apologize for that. We know he wanted to. Don is telling me it's been an hour and a half. So normally we go about an hour, but again, I wanted to make sure that we're here. We get your questions answered. That's why Bob's here. I felt it to be very, very important, being that we're going into fourth quarter. And I think that what Bob has to share with you guys is very valuable information. And I do appreciate him spending all his time here with us. And I do appreciate you guys being here to listen to what Bob and I have to say today. I'm going to give Bob the last word, but Bob, as always, you know, like I said, I always enjoy talking to you.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity. And the one thing you probably learned on here is I do love to talk, but I do love to share. And I love this business. I love helping people. And hopefully that came across. One of the things that people tell me a lot, because one of the things I do offer one-on-one coaching, obviously, have for a long time, is I get people motivated. So they have a session with me and they're like, oh my God, I got to go out to the store. I got to do this. They get kind of wound up because I really do love this, and it comes across, and hopefully it came across for you all. If it is, and the timing's right, and it's not right for everybody, so I'm not trying to push it, but if it is, I put the link in the chat in there. It's sellercoaching.com. If by chance you are looking for coaching, you're looking for somebody to mentoring, I have a very economical program. As John posted in the intro, I used to run the support department for ScanPower. I was the head coach for Jim Cochran. Jim and I are still friends. I do coaching now by myself. And I have an annual coaching now where somebody could get 12 months of coaching from me and unlimited email support basically for $2,500. And for people that are working with me, found out that it can be practically invaluable. What could that do to your business? If I could double your business next year, what did that actually cost you? It didn't cost you anything. It made you money. So that's the way you have to look at things. When it's right, the time is right, it's just another service that's out there available for you. And you got a little taste of it tonight, the way I share. And this is the way I am all the time. I'm constantly going from one subject to another and back and forth. That's my nature. I do the segues all over the place, and I don't mind questions, as you probably found out.
And guys, the last thing from Bob is he does have a huge Facebook following. If you want to follow Bob on Facebook, Bob, if you want to post that for them also, sure. They can find out more about your huge group you have on Facebook. And I think it's a free group.
All my groups are free.
You can go in there, and there's a lot of good information that he has in that group. He actually lets me go in there and post my guest experts, which I appreciate.
The FBA newbies group is over 14,000 members. I have another group that is just for booksellers. And I'll post that link in there for you. There's my two biggest groups right there. Between my four groups I've got out there, I've got like 27,000 members out there. And believe it or not, all four groups are free. And the one group that's on Yahoo, I actually started August the 1st, 2008. Back the first year when Amazon actually started FBA, I started a group. And here's a little tidbit for you, just to blow your mind away a little bit. About the 10th person that came into the group was somebody you all probably know the name of. His name is Chris Green. And guess what? Guess who helped Chris Green get started? It was me. So the grandfather has a grandfather behind him. So a great grandfather, whatever.
Before.
Cool. Y'all have a great one. We really appreciate your time. Hopefully you've got a lot of good information out of here and can help you for Q4 and your business in general. And your time is important. And we thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thanks, Bob. Peace out, guys. God bless, and we'll see you again soon.
God bless everybody.